大家好，我是英国老妈。Welcome to today's video where I am answering your questions about life from the perspective of a British mum, trying to spread some peace and happiness and connect. So we've received a question today from somebody via Bilibili, and today's question, Jack, will you read it out for us?
Sure, yeah, it's in two parts. So the first part is, this person has applied for 3 universities in the UK. However, one university is in the top 100 of universities on the QS list, and the other 2 are in the top 200. So they're asking, because they don't think this is very high, in the UK, do we place much value in these global university ranking lists? So that's the first question.
Okay, that's a really good question. I think answering as a British mum in terms of when my children went to university, I don't think we place quite so much emphasis here in the UK on those rankings as maybe you do in China, where you've got a different education system, maybe focusing on the Gaokao, and it's so competitive and intense. Certainly, rankings of UK universities are important here to a certain extent, and we have the Russell Group, which are the top universities, and obviously there is a value to that. But my view as a British mum, and from my children when they went to university, is that UK employers place a value maybe on the individual holistically. So going to university and getting a good degree is viewed along with the person and the extracurricular activities they've done, so the person as a whole. So my answer to you would be, yes, research a university, try your hardest, achieve as much as you can, but maybe don't be too concerned and too fixed on the ranking. I hope that helps. So Jack, what was the second part of that question?
So the second part of this question is, this person's parents are a little hesitant and worried about the student going abroad to study because of the pandemic, but also this person notes that there's quite a high fee to studying abroad and it is a burden on the family. However, if the student does go abroad, they can gain lots of new knowledge and experience. So they want to know, how did you cope with the worry when I went abroad, and what's your opinion on whether this person should take into account their parents' worries or whether they should go abroad to get this new experience?
There's lots of parts to that question, and they're really good questions and understandable. Yeah. So in terms of how did I cope when you went abroad, I think it's natural that all parents will worry. And I know from Jack what you've told me about cultural differences between the UK and China, that in China families are so connected and so close, and that young people are really respectful. You are really respectful of your parents and what your parents want for you and their views. So I think maybe there's a difference there, and certainly it's really to your credit that you are thinking about your family and how your family will respond and the worries that they have for you and the burden it will place upon them. So you asked in your question about how I coped and how we came to the decision when my children, my son Jack, went to university and went abroad. And whilst we discussed it as a family, I think in the UK the decision, the ultimate decision, very much came down to Jack, comes down to the child. And it sounds from your question, and I know in terms of cultural differences, that the view that you have of your family is really important. So my suggestion would be to do in a similar way that we did, is to sit down and talk to your family and get their view. Maybe you could make a list of the pros and the cons, the upsides and the downsides of where you would study, whether that would be in China, in your own home country, or to come abroad to the UK. Sometimes that helps just clarify our thoughts to get it down on paper. And it really is to your credit as a dutiful child that you are taking into consideration your family's view. And I really hope that that works out for you. Another part of your question was asking about COVID-19. And I guess when my children were thinking of going to university or thinking of going abroad and Jack went to China, we just didn't have that to take into account. And so you will need to consider that. But perhaps for me that's just another worry that might be added to your list in terms of a similar worry like being away from home and the financial burden and the financial cost. And you need to discuss that with your family. And I hope that when you've thought it through and you've discussed it through with your family, that you can come up with a decision that works well for you. But thank you, that's a really good question. So in conclusion, my advice would be, it needs to be your decision that you're comfortable with. But as your family are a top priority for you, it perhaps needs to be one that you make with them and that you're all comfortable with. So I hope you liked the video and you found that useful. If you want to send any questions to me on Sigua, Bilibili, on YouTube, then I look forward to receiving them. So for now, if you can just like and subscribe. Ijen Sanlien.